What's going on, guys? Before we get into today's show, if you haven't subscribed, I don't know what you're waiting for because we got free content all year long. I'm trying to reach 8,000 subscribers by the time Goodell walks up and makes the first pick of the 2022 NFL Draft. So please subscribe if you haven't already because we got free videos covering the latest Broncos news and rumors. Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Matthew Peterson. We got a fun show today. A lot of news and rumors out there to kind of clean up and condense it all for you guys. We'll break it all down. And always love hearing what you guys have to say about these latest news and rumors, too. So here is what's coming up on today's show. Melvin Gordon, could he be coming back to Mile High? There's some interest on both sides, it looks like, and we got an update too, so we'll dive into that. Then we'll check out the latest Pro Football Focus mock draft, see who they have the Broncos taking at pick number 64. And finally, Denver, interested in drafting a quarterback? Yeah, didn't think we'd be talking about this today, but you never know what comes your way in the NFL. So let's start things off with the update on the Melvin Gordon side here. The free agent running back fired both of his agents. So that tells you one thing. He's not happy with the progress, or I guess lack of progress, that has been made to get him a new contract. Now, Paton and I guess Gordon's old reps had been in talks of a reunion, a possible re-signing, and honestly, I kind of envisioned that, you know, you drafted Javonte Williams in the second round with Melvin Gordon and going into the last year of his contract. Probably means he's going to take over and you'll be done with Gordon. But Paton has spoken very highly. We'll look at some of his quotes in a second. But I think this is Melvin Gordon getting a little bit anxious, ants in his pants going, all right, it is April 4th, and I still don't have a job yet. I want to come back to the team that, by the way, just traded for a stud quarterback so I can end my career with a Super Bowl run. So Melvin Gordon, a couple weeks ago, was asked about the update of potential reunion in Denver. And here's what he had to say. I have been wanting to come back. I would love to win a championship in Denver. I made a lot of great relationships with the guys. I feel like we have a really good team. To leave a talented team and go somewhere else would suck. It's a job unfinished, and we need to finish the job. I would love to stay. I talked with General Manager George Paton. We spoke on it. He told me he thinks highly of me. I really like the way he runs things and does things. Well, yeah, no, shit, Melvin Gordon's going to come on and say, I love the way the GM's doing his job. That's who wants to hire him, okay? So you're not going to badmouth the guy who's in charge of hiring in any field you're in. So I don't think this is a very likely reunion personally, but do you want the Broncos to re-sign Melvin Gordon? I thought, he exceeded my expectations. He absolutely proved me wrong last year. I thought Javonte Williams would have a better year. Melvin Gordon get up there in the age column. What do you think? Why for yes and for no? We'll show the stats in a moment, but let's get your thoughts early in, so weigh in down below in the comment section. Like I mentioned, Gordon, he exceeded my expectations last season. 918 yards and 8 touchdowns. In fact, before we started filming, producer Marsh here is a Giants fan. He reminded me, and I kind of reminded him actually, of that Week 1 80-yard touchdown, game-sealing touchdown run by Gordon. And that was kind of downhill from there. But he had a pretty good year altogether. The fumbles came at bad times, but when do fumbles really come at good times? Overall, Melvin Gordon, 2 seasons with the Broncos after playing in San Diego/LA with the Chargers. Listen, you get 1,900 yards out of a veteran guy in 2 seasons and 17 touchdowns. That's a good signing. Elway inked him to a 2-year, $16 million contract. All in all, worked out well for both sides. Now, if Gordon wants to come back on a vet minimum, like a 1-year, I don't know, like a $2 million deal, I guess why not if you've got the money? But I just worry that Paton envisions the plan of, hey, it's time to give Javonte Williams the lion's share right now. And if you bring back Melvin Gordon, is he going to be on board with this plan of, listen, it's not going to be like last year where you got 55% of the touches and Williams got 45%. It's going to look more like 70-30. And if he's on board with that for cheap, I don't have an issue with it. Better than Mike Boone, in my opinion. Before we get to the rest of the news and rumors on today's show, how about Russell Wilson jerseys? In stock right now at Fanatics. Get on over there when you go to chatsports.com/Broncos jersey. Use that link because here's the deal. Things are flying off the charts. We know things are flying off the charts. We know we've got some supply chain issues. So you don't want to wait till right before week 1 and try to place an order, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we'll get you a jersey in November. Get ahead of it now. Get on top of it when you go to chatsports.com/Broncos jersey. All right, bring it back on course now. Latest Pro Football Focus mock draft. I want to preface before we get to the actual pick in a second. Pro Football Focus is a good tool and a good resource, but sometimes they do some wild stuff. And this isn't necessarily pertaining to the Broncos pick here, but I just wanted a disclaimer because I don't think this player falls this far. Maybe he does, but the Broncos in Pro Football Focus's latest mock draft go with Quay Walker, the linebacker out of Georgia. The NFL draft guru here at Tom Downey loves to say if your favorite player in this draft is the guy from Georgia, that's a good answer because Quay Walker is just another stud from Athens. He's a dog, no pun intended. Great off-ball linebacker, and that's what Denver kind of needs. They've got Josie Jewell. You're moving Baron Browning to the edge spot. Kenny Young's a free agent along with A.J. Johnson. You bring Quay Walker and you kind of boost this defense after putting a ton of resources like Russell Wilson trade in the offensive side of things. So I like the idea. He can play sideline to sideline. Now, the thing with Quay Walker and the reason why he's not Nakobe Dean or Devin Lloyd is he doesn't have that playmaker impact, right? He doesn't have that game-changing moment that you see out of Nakobe Dean or Devin Lloyd, some of these other linebackers that are going a little bit earlier than other guys. So I like the Quay Walker pick. We'll check out some of his stats in a second. I honestly don't have an issue with it. My issue is just that I like the idea of addressing the right tackle spot. That's been something that is a broken record for me. I just think if you're going to trade for Russell Wilson, make sure he's standing upright. Now, before we look at more Quay Walker stuff here, who is your favorite draft prospect? Try to keep it in the ballpark of when Denver's on the clock. So don't be the guy that says Aiden Hutchinson because, of course, he's your favorite. He's everyone's favorite. But let me know someone that you would like to see maybe Denver select in round 2. And I'll keep an eye on them, and I'll check out some of their stuff and try to incorporate them into future shows as we really ramp up our draft coverage here at the channel. Pro Football Focus said this about Quay Walker after making the pick on Denver's behalf. Walker is so good at wrapping defenders up with his near 80-inch wingspan. Throughout his collegiate career, Walker missed just 7 tackles on 138 attempts. The guy's pretty locked down. You check out what he did last season, 65 tackles, 5.5 for loss, 1.5 sacks, and he can help you on pass protection. I mean, he's not going to be a versatile pick linebacker that can really run with the best of the best tight ends and running backs, but 3 PBUs, that'll get you the job done, and that'll get you probably a pick in day 1 or most likely day 2 for him. Other draft stuff here. Are the Broncos interested in drafting a quarterback? It's a weird thought to say because you just traded for Russell Wilson, so why would Denver be looking at QB? Well, I'll tell you why in a second, but the story comes from Pro Football Network and Aaron Wilson, who wrote this. University of Miami quarterback D'Eriq King is drawing increased interest from NFL teams with an emphasis on his quarterback skills. The Manville graduate, did I get that right, Marsh? Yeah, Marsh is a Houston guy. That's where D'Eriq King's from. Graduate worked out privately for New England Patriots assistant coach Joe Judge, speaking of the Giants, is scheduled for the Texans' local prospect day on April 8th, had a Zoom meeting with the Baltimore Ravens, and talked extensively with the Denver Broncos following the Miami Pro Day workout along with other NFL teams, according to league source not authorized to speak publicly. Oh, how fancy. Can't speak publicly. But extensive talks with the Broncos. So D'Eriq King is an interesting name just because of the history he has as a college football quarterback. At one point, this was a quarterback that we know when the draft's over and the next day someone does the next year's mock draft, he was always one of those names that was a first-round quarterback for a good stretch there. And we'll show you why in a second, but I want to keep it light here on the channel. And so I was thinking about asking this question. Name a random Broncos quarterback. Like Kyle Orton, Paxton Lynch, Joe Flacco. I want it random. No Elway, no Manning, no Russell Wilson, no Drew Lock. It's got to be random. Let's see how weird it can get in the comments for random Broncos quarterbacks. Going back to D'Eriq King, though. Here's why he's interesting. He played 6 seasons in college. 6 seasons. If you played during the COVID, year, I felt like you could always just come back and go, yeah, but COVID, come on. I get to play another year. COVID. So Here's where his top 2 years. He played 4 years at Houston and then 2 years at Miami with the Hurricanes. 2018 was the breakout year. This was the year that he put everyone on notice. He scored 50 touchdowns between passing and on the ground, only 6 interceptions, threw for nearly 3,000 yards, rushed for nearly 700, and then had a good season in Miami in 2020 after playing like just 4 games in 2019 and then sitting out to redshirt the year to get an extra year of eligibility. And then he got hurt, and that was kind of the sad thing about his time at Miami. Listen, I like the idea of drafting a quarterback every year. The reason being is that there is no position in sports like the quarterback. There's just no other position, like baseball doesn't have one spot where it really all boils down to that position. Basketball, hockey, soccer, doesn't matter. It's just too important of a position to ignore. And honestly, don't even worry about, hurting Russell Wilson's feelings. As long as you don't draft someone in the first or second or third round, I don't think he'll be that upset by it because this is Russell Wilson. I mean, he was that guy, okay? He went to Seattle after they signed Matt Flynn, who had a breakout game for the Packers. They give him 3 years, tons of money. They draft Russell Wilson later in the draft in day 3, I think, because they realize he's a really good quarterback. He may not make it for us, but we might as well bring him in because this position is way too important to just mess around on and kick it down the can. So I like the idea, but as for D'Eriq King being a legitimate Broncos backup quarterback, probably not. Pretty undersized, pretty injury prone lately. Maybe a wide receiver, maybe the next Kendall Hinton. That could be it. Maybe the emergency quarterback. How about this? Kendall Hinton, D'Eriq King, Wildcat. No Russell Wilson on the field. That would not end well. All right, we're going to end the note right here. Hope you guys have liked today's video. Make sure you give us a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. That way you never miss a future Broncos video. Plus, with draft season right around the corner, you're going to want to stay locked in for the best Broncos news and rumors content here on the Tube.